All right, hello guys. Welcome here to Sunday morning Tinkle. Man, well, we're here tonight recording because as you're watching, we're on our way to Buffalo.
See the Jets and the Bills play off
Yeah.
against each other. It's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, exactly. We're probably getting kind of drunk as we speak. We'll see. Depends on how the traffic's working, or I'm sitting there cursing out the traffic.
Or a little bit of both.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know about that because I
Well, I
can't
mean,
curse out the traffic
well,
and drink,
definitely
but
not the one then the other. Definitely probably cursing. That's definitely probably a given. But if we get there early enough, I don't think the traffic's going to be that bad.
yeah, we'll see. But anyway, coming up, we're going to talk, and we got the Heisman Trophy winner announced.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to talk some injuries, some fines coming up, some latest MLB off-season news, and of course we will have Tinkle on this coming your way. But we begin with our rundowns, and I'm going to get things kicked off today. And I just want to say, first off, of all teams to lose to, granted it wasn't the Colts with the practice squad, or with the analyst coach, but why the Raiders, of all teams in our division to lose to? Now, granted, we could lose to the Broncos too, but come on, the fucking Raiders, man. The team that gave up a massive drive to Baker Mayfield, and we can't beat them. The team that lost to an ESPN analyst, and we can't beat them. I don't care how injured we are. That's a disgrace that we lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, that's a team that should have been, to me, an easy sweep. Because frankly, their 5-8 record or whatever it happens to be at this point, it's a fluke. I don't care what anybody says there. It's a fluke. They should be 2 and God knows what.
They should almost have the same record as the Texans.
Yeah, they're horrible. I mean, Derek Carr is playing like garbage. Derek Carr is
Honestly, the only real players that are keeping them even relevant is Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. That's about it.
Yep, that's all they need. So, that brings the question to me, should it be the final nail in the coffin for Brandon Staley? Yep. Plain and simple.
Probably. Honestly, he hasn't really done anything for the Chargers organization as their head coach in 2 seasons. So, yeah, I would say he's gone.
Yeah. He got all this help in the offseason. Now, granted, injuries have played a big part, and, but the injuries can't be the excuse. Look, okay, the Bills have been banged up on defense all year, and they're number 1 in the conference right now. So,
I mean, probably not anymore, at least defensively wise, but yeah, they're still top 10.
So, no excuse for the Chargers here. It's time for Staley to go.
I agree.
I think, and again, I get we got to pay a lot of draft capital to get Sean Payton, but we need a proven winner at this point. Not a guy who's, oh, well, he was a quarterback in college, but he's a defensive coordinator as well, so he's the best of both worlds for us. No, get a proven winner for once, okay? We blew it by not getting Brian Dable, and granted, I didn't want him at first, but now I'm actually regretting saying that.
I mean, Brian Dable has kind of like started off really hot and then kind of faltering a little bit the last few weeks. Haven't looked really good for the Giants. But
look at what he's got, though. He really doesn't have anything besides Saquon and then, Daniel Jones's legs.
true. I'm sure that's exactly what he wanted as a head coach. He wanted somebody that could be a versatile, dual threat quarterback. that also had, a really good running back in Saquon Barkley, because unfortunately he never had a running back like that in Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, not much more to say on it. I'm just disgusted by that loss. Um,
No, there's definitely some painful losses that they've taken, but again,
yeah. Um, this is a headline we don't get to say very often, I think, ever. Um,
hmm
Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy for the San Francisco 49ers led a game, or of course, he helped the 49ers get a big win against the Miami Dolphins. Oh my gosh, I'm slipping. But, yeah, so he helped them get a win over the Miami Dolphins. Of course, keep in mind the Dolphins entering that game have been undefeated in games where Tua started and finished the game in the last God knows how many games. So, I guess a lot of it can be attributed to Jimmy G, but and keep in mind Jimmy G initially was supposed to be out for the year with a broken foot. I believe they reevaluated. It's now 7 weeks, and he could return if they make a playoff run. So that poses the question now, are the 49ers still a team that can make the playoffs without Jimmy G?
I think so. If Brock Purdy can keep on bringing up the numbers they had last week and not overthink it, yeah, don't play like a seventh round pick. Play like you should have been a lot higher. Because if you play like you should have been a lot higher and go out there and prove yourself, instead of overthink it and be like, you know, I I shouldn't even be on this team, even remotely playing right now, kind of thing, then it's going to be this spell disaster for the 49ers for the rest of the year. But if he can go out there and actually prove himself and, you know, help out this team with the weapons that they have heading into a playoff run, then honestly, he might be like the first Mr. Irrelevant that actually can help a team heading into the playoffs, which is insane because you never would have thought. You don't hear very many seventh round draft picks, maybe other than Trevor Simeon, because I think he was a seventh round draft pick that ended up starting for the Broncos and did halfway decent. I mean, he hasn't been a bad quarterback in the NFL, certainly not a good one. But if you were looking at Brock Purdy, who is the last overall pick of the 2022 NFL draft, Brock Purdy did pretty well. I mean, he had a couple touchdowns, I think over 200 yards passing. I mean, it didn't look like a bad debut for Mr. Irrelevant, but the real thing is, can he keep it up going forward to try to help this team going out? Because, I mean, if he doesn't, your only other quarterback is Josh Johnson, and Josh Johnson's been a journeyman and not really the greatest quarterback either. So the situation for the 49ers for right now looks okay, but you don't know if that's going to be enough for the rest of the year. I mean, if they can still get into the playoffs, I say it was at least a successful year. If they lose in the first round, they lose to the first round if they get there. But if you look at Brock Purdy, I mean, if you can take this team that wasn't even supposed to have Jimmy Garoppolo even start at all this year. It was supposed to be
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. If they get into the playoffs with their third string quarterback, I'd say it's a successful year because then you have three different quarterbacks that helped out this team this season, and I don't know. It's a weird thing. They better hope that Brock Purdy can stay healthy, or they're gonna really have some trouble in their hands.
Well, I think what he did against Miami, and Miami for the last few years have had quite a defense. They put together a top 10 defense there,
Right.
and the fact that he got 200 yards, I'd say pretty successful day. Now, again, we entered this week, we knew Baker Mayfield got cut. Now, many, I think, would have thought and including myself, I was saying, get ready. He's going to the Niners. He's going to get claimed by the 49ers, and he's going to be their quarterback for the rest of the year. Well, then, of course, the Rams came along, and they claimed him. So now, really, there's no other option but Josh Johnson. And Josh Johnson's not
Right.
by any means a bad quarterback. It's just, unfortunately, he's not good enough to stay on a roster. And this is now his third stint with the San Francisco 49ers,
Which
if I'm not
insane.
mistaken.
It might be. I mean,
But I wouldn't say they're in bad shape. I just don't know if they're going to be in the mix when it's all said and done. Looking at how the NFC East is right now, the Washington Commanders have found new energy now with Taylor Heineke at quarterback. I feel they're going to keep going up. It feels like the Giants have taken a step back. In a way, they aren't what they were to start the year, but
no.
you can't rule them out just yet. Seattle's a team that's just not cooling off, and they're just not going away. So they're a team that's going to be in play for a wild card. In Detroit has emerged as a wild card contender now, and if they beat Minnesota later today, I believe you really got to watch Detroit at that point.
I mean, Minnesota's no joke either. I mean,
Yeah. So,
but then if that's the case, then you got to look at the Cowboys, and yeah, I get it, but they demolished the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, the Vikings do have a clean sweep against the other great conference or great division of the AFC East. They clean sweeped that whole entire division. The Vikings are no joke either.
yeah. Well,
But if you look at the Cowboys, they're not. I mean, they're in surviving. So NFC looking pretty strong heading into playoffs too. So I mean, who really knows who's going to be the 7 teams?
There's definitely teams. The Vikings, the Eagles have regained their traction. But what I'm pointing out is the wild card is Detroit starting to gain momentum. Now they got Jamison Williams back, so that's going to add to that momentum that they're already having. And again, Washington's not going away. The Giants could still figure things out. And then there's Seattle. So, really, it's a bad time for Jimmy G to go out. There's no sugarcoating it there. It's just a really, really bad time for him to go out with a serious injury. And it's a bad time for Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, to be starting. But, he has a chance to get rid of the IR in Irrelevant. Okay? So, I can't wait to see what he does. But I feel like the odds are...
Instead of Mr. Irrelevant, hopefully he can become Mr. Relevant.
And Mr. Hero at the same time.
Exactly.
So, but I gotta flip to MLB because, man, this Aaron Judge story got weird earlier in the week. So, of course, he was at Monday Night Football's matchup for the Bucks and the Saints. So, jokingly, I'm like, maybe the Tampa Bay Rays. Then I forgot the Yankees training camp, or the Yankees spring training facility, is just around the corner from Raymond James Stadium. Well, the next day, a report came out on Elon Musk's Twitter, need I say more, that Aaron Judge had signed a long-term deal with the San Francisco Giants. Come to find out, that's not true. And again, Elon Musk's Twitter, pay $8 a month and you're legit. But I digress from that.
Right.
So, you know, what looked like Aaron Judge was leaving the Bronx is not going to happen now. Aaron Judge has signed a multi-year deal, I believe an 8-year, $380 million
I
deal.
think it's like a 9-year, 350
Yeah,
or
something,
$60 million deal, which is
yeah,
insane amount
something
of
along
money
those
for
lines.
9 years.
Which, to have a breakout year like he had, great, but you kind of got burned in the playoffs by the Astros. I mean, you not only got burned, you got swept by the Astros, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yeah, they did get swept in the, you know,
I, I,
playoff.
I just don't agree with this, and I'm sorry. I just don't think it was a good deal for the Yankees. But typical Yankees, flexing their muscles, saying, look how much money we got. Yep, 9-year, $360 million. It'll lock him up for most of the rest of his young career. Aaron Judge, of course, broke the AL home run record. He is the AL MVP this year. Actually, it'll lock him up for practically the rest of his career because he's 30 years old. It'll bring him to when he's 39. Damn. But, should have expected nothing less. The Yankees always flexing their muscles, showing off how much money they have over the rest of the league. So,
Right.
no surprise. But I guess good for Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I mean, good for Aaron Judge. Current MVP of the league. Congratulations to him.
Yeah.
And gets to stay to the team that he had the most success with. So, I mean,
Yeah.
what better ending to a great 2022 to be able to sign a massive deal to stay with the team.
Yep.
Hopefully, maybe in the Yankees' case that he can still have the same kind of success moving forward. Maybe, even better than he was this season. I mean, who knows?
Yep. But in addition to that news, adding to the off-season frenzy, Justin Verlander, 40-year-old Justin Verlander, is leaving Houston, and he has signed a record 2-year deal with the New York Mets. I had it up here, and I'm gonna find it.
This was an interesting one, especially since he's coming off of a team that just won the World Series.
2-year, $86 million.
Holy crap!
Now, mind you, Verlander for the last 2 off seasons was pursued not only by the Astros, but by the Yankees and the Mets, but also by the Yankees. And what's even more shocking is, for those who don't know, Justin Verlander's wife, full disclosure, she's very beautiful. She's a model for SI Swimsuit, but, I digress for that. I digress from that as well, but she is also a diehard New York Yankee fan, if I recall. So, I can't believe the wife didn't win out in this battle in terms of deciding where he's going to go. So,
I mean, that would have been interesting if the Yankees kept Judge and also got Verlander. That'd be something. But
yeah, so
he's going to be in New York, though, regardless.
Oh, man. But, man, lots of moves in New York this week. But, good to see Verlander back. Of course, he'll replace Jacob deGrom, and he will rejoin Max Scherzer, another pitcher who was a part of that Detroit rotation back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. So, should be a nice reunion. Should add to the Mets' great pitching. And with that, we stay in New York with this next story, and I will hand things over to Jason to explain why I'm saying we will stay in New York.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills. Von Miller, unfortunately, some bad news regarding him. We thought the injury was going to not be as serious, maybe like 7 to 10 days. Wear a knee brace. He goes on IR, and then when he goes into having going to see the doctors, well, it was discovered that he actually fully torn his ACL and is required to have surgery.
Oh,
So sad.
okay, who sent him to immediate care for x-rays? I'm kidding.
Who knows? But for what I was hearing is that, you know, the thought could have been, well, is this truly it for Von Miller? Is he going to be done career-wise? No, he is not. He is actually looking forward to the rehab and getting back stronger than ever next year. As we know, also another man that had that same kind of injury that came back late in this season and is now fully back as well is, Tre'Davious White. So if there's anybody that could, give advice to Von Miller, it would be Tre'Davious White himself, who had the same exact, torn ACL itself. So he could probably give him tips of like what kind of rehab he went through so that he could get back fully healthy maybe by the middle of the season next year. It would be nice. Praying for Yvonne.
Yep.
How will that impact the defense for the rest of the season? It's going to hurt not having our best pass rusher, our leading sack leader on the defense, but it's going to be a great opportunity for Gregory Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Boogie Basham, a lot of these younger guys. It's going to give them an opportunity to go out there and shine. I'm hoping Greg Rousseau has learned a lot of moves and, being a great pass rusher from Von Miller. Von Miller will still be on the sidelines. He's still going to help coach up that defense. What better way to do that than him? And hopefully a lot of those guys that are going to have to step up in his absence can go out there and showcase, hey, Yvonne, you're a great mentor, and we're going to showcase it and go out there and,
No better way to
be
showcase
future.
it than winning a Super Bowl as well.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Granted, we're
What
still
better
a ways away.
We are. I mean, we're a couple months away, but it's never too early to have to think about something like that too. But who knows? I think the defense will be fine. I mean, they've played the whole entire year without Tre'Davious White, and look where they got. Now, without Von Miller, I mean, they won last week without Von, so, I mean, I can't see why they can't find some game plan and figure things out. So, go on to bullet point number 2. Baker Mayfield. Yes.
We talked about him earlier.
Mayfield, who was on the Carolina Panthers earlier this year.
Earlier this week.
Yeah. Who started, then got benched, in favor of PJ Walker and Sam Darnold. And he gets released. Gets picked up by waivers by the Rams on Tuesday. Mind you, on Tuesday, he got picked up by the Rams. And then on Thursday Night Football, he plays in his season debut with the Rams, or his debut with the Rams. And this man has no idea what he's barely doing out there. He barely knows the offense. He's been there at most maybe like a day. And if you think about it, when you're cleaning off waivers and you're coming off a short week, I'm pretty sure there ain't no Wednesday practice. So, you mean to tell me he learned enough offense in that short a time just to be able to go out there and be like, well, I'm going to be your quarterback. And he helps the team come back from a 16-3 deficit with a little over 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's insane to think about. For a man that just joined the team and then he goes out there and puts together those, two great drives in a row and scores off of them, like, nothing is better than that.
Yeah, I mean, and I just got to point this out too, and this should have been a tinkle on this nominee as well, but one of the Twitter users as well said that if Baker Mayfield led this 98-yard drive to win the game, he was going to get he was going to get neutered. And after the game, he ended up tweeting in response, "Be right back, calling a vet as we speak." So, hope that neutering went well, but I just had to bring that up. But yeah, Baker is going back to Baker though. This is only part of the cycle, guys. Okay, he plays good, calls out the doubters, and now next week he'll be back to playing like the 17 QBR that he had, entering this game. So let's not get sold just yet. Now, granted, he's on a better roster. He's got a lot of talent around him. Now, not saying he didn't in Cleveland, but, here in LA, even though they're on Super Bowl hangover, they still got talent over there that can, that obviously, beats Cleveland's wide receiver core. And do I need to explain that it beats Carolina's? I think that goes without saying.
Right.
But, man, he made Van Jefferson look good, though, on that final drive. I mean, we haven't heard anything from Van Jefferson in the last few years.
No, we haven't. I mean, well, and what about that other receiver there? The one that we barely even know about. Number 18 there, I mean, he was Baker's top target the whole entire game. Yes, Van Jefferson did have the game-winning touchdown, but that Stokowski or whatever, Slokowski or whatever you want to say,
he kind of
made himself a game out there.
Yeah,
mind you that the Rams are playing with a bunch of nobodies, maybe other than Van Jefferson, who was with the team last year, and everybody knows what he did as a rookie. But if you look at this team, it's a bunch of rookies and maybe first-year players, second-year players. It's not a very great situation for the Rams. But Baker went out there and went with what he had, even though he had barely any chemistry with his receivers, and drove him down 98 yards in a minute and a half. A minute and a half. 98 yards, 8 plays. Unheard of.
It's funny? It'll go down in history, or it'll make quite a great movie one of these days. Just gonna throw it. It'll make a great movie one day, especially if this... Well, it won't lead them to the Super Bowl. They'd have quite a long ways to get there, but, it'll definitely make a good movie.
I agree. Alright, I'll get on to my last takeaway here. New Orleans Saints, Cam Jordan and several team coaches have been fined $500,000, all because Cam Jordan faked the injury. I don't know the true story of how he faked the injury. I don't know if he was just doing the celebration and kind of we've heard multiple stories about players faking injuries just so then they can get a water break on the sidelines and then head it back into the game.
Stop the no huddles, basically.
Yeah, stop the no huddles. Get a breather, be able to get a timeout. It's very petty for players that do that. They know the rules. They know that don't succumb yourself to something stupid. I mean, the New Orleans Saints, they always seem to be involved with some kind of stupid tactics and things. I mean, of course, everybody knows about
the Bounty Gate.
Yeah, the Bounty Gate because of with the Saints, and then everything else that's happened with them. Hence why Sean Payton was suspended for a whole entire year because of it. So,
Now,
Teams
let's...
always seem to be involved with some stupid little tactic, something a little, very childish, and this kind of is the icing of the cake right here.
It's just the definition of it, unfortunately. It's typical New Orleans Saints football,
Hmm.
which is unfortunate to say, but this is why, Now, granted, I go back to the LA Rams where they missed the pass interference, but this is why the refs don't like them. This is why some of the league doesn't like them. But, this is stuff that just doesn't earn respect. And the fact that they have to write a rule to tell you not to fake an injury during no huddles, to stop the clock essentially. The fact that there has to be a rule on that is ridiculous because that shouldn't even have to be. It should have never had to be written down in the first place. That should be just common sense. That's just not right to do. Just for the integrity of the game, it's something that shouldn't even be considered.
Yeah, I mean, it really shouldn't be considered. I mean, if you want to do it as a part of like a celebration of the fake injury celebration, fine. But if you're doing it just to be able to get to stop the clock or get a drink of water and stuff like that, it makes no sense. It really doesn't.
No. Cramps, I
But
get. Cramps would have been a good excuse for the injury if you were going to use one. But, like I said, just unbelievable. Now, everyone is appealing, by the way. The whole team is appealing their fines, including Cam Jordan, who said he tweaked something without going into any further detail of what he tweaked to begin with. So, I'm sorry, but unless you present something, I think you're guilty there. I mean, just the fact that you won't elaborate. Just the fact you won't elaborate. I mean, the fact that we really don't know. I mean, even the fact that Adam Schefter can't tell us what he tweaked tells us a lot. Because Adam Schefter sometimes knows more than we think he knows.
I mean, half the time I feel like Adam Schefter is literally there with a player, finding all the inside scoop, but all he hears it from is his laptop and everything like that. So
what's that song? Sometimes I always feel like somebody's watching me, and I've got no privacy. That's literally the NFL when Adam Schefter's around. Okay.
Oh, I agree. He literally knows everything. Hence, with the whole thing with Tom Brady, I mean, he was the one that announced, "Oh yeah, Tom Brady's retired from the NFL,"
which he did a few days later. He was inside Tom Brady's head, stalking him.
And of course, Tom Brady's like, "Yeah, you thought." So, I think it's time for an anchor break, Brian.
Yeah, let's take the anchor break. We're going to discuss the Heisman Trophy. It was actually just announced as we started recording, so we'll talk that in a second. We'll make our week number 14 picks. Man, we're closing in on the end of the year. We're closing in, for many, on the fantasy football playoffs, and in our Tinkle League, I'm nowhere near. So...
I think both of them are not near.
The one I'm battling you for the playoff spot, but we'll save that for after the break. And then, of course, we have Tinkle on this coming up in just a moment here on Sunday Morning Tinkle. Well, here we go. We got our Heisman Trophy winner for 2022, and I can't wait to see what old tweets they dig up of him tomorrow morning. Or this morning, because we know what's going to happen. It happens to every Heisman winner, and I'm going to keep saying it because until it's proven wrong, it's just going to keep happening. Caleb Williams from USC, he is this season's 2022 Heisman Trophy winner. Of course, USC did not make the college football playoff. They kind of got wiped by Utah. But Caleb Williams beats out C.J. Stroud. I believe TCU's quarterback, and I forget who else. But this year, C.J. Stroud, he went 66% completions, 4,075 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 4 picks for USC. Of course, Caleb Williams is a sophomore. He spent his first college football season. Sorry, I had it up for a second. He opened up his career with Oklahoma in 2021 before transferring to USC this season. Based on those stats, it looks like he's well deserving of the Heisman. Again, we don't watch college football, but gotta discuss it.
Right. I mean, good for him. I mean, USC didn't have a really terrible year at all. I mean, but fortunately, just out of the BCS, championship or the playoffs there. So
the blowout costed them. Honestly, that blowout at the end of the season, the last game they played, costed them, and it's just unfortunate. But they do end it on a bright spot with Caleb. Of course, the rules are a little finicky in college football, so I don't believe he can declare for the NFL draft this year unless he was redshirted. And if he was redshirted, then he can declare. But, this definitely drags up Caleb Williams' draft stock.
If anything, he'll probably be there for another season before he does.
Yeah, usually if you get the Heisman and you're like a sophomore or junior, you automatically declare for the draft. But, again, we'll see what happens. I don't know the full extent of the rules. Someone can maybe elaborate on that for me. But Caleb, congratulations. I enjoyed his speech. His speech sounded really good from what I heard. But, good to see another USC quarterback in there. And by the way, he won it in front of Carson Palmer and Matt Leinart. Of course, both of them former Heisman winners from USC. Technically Reggie Bush's, but we all know what happened to Reggie Bush's Heisman. So, with that, we're on to the picks. And I'd say let's start where we technically are while you guys are watching this on Premiere.
Yeah.
The New York Jets, the Buffalo Bills, the Bills favored by 10.
I don't know if I like the 10-point over for the Bills. I think it's going to be a lot closer. I mean, look at the last time they faced off against each other. The Jets beat the Bills at home, but I also there's a lot of injuries that the Bills had against the Jets the last time. This time they had some guys that are going to be healthy. They are going to have a healthy Jordan Poyer, a pretty kind of banged up Matt Milano, but I think signs are pointing towards him playing. I want to say it's going to be the Bills, but it's going to be a lot closer than 10 points.
Yeah, closer than 10. I'm going to go with the Bills too, though. Of course, by the way, if you do see us, we might be on TV. We are sitting in the end zone. We're sitting in the end zone by the tunnel. So you might see us. I believe we are 20 rows up, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't see why not. I mean,
I gotta check.
I mean, maybe not directly to the camera. I mean, because if you think about it, the camera is on the side. If it's like from the view of like the actual like field, maybe. I mean, going that way. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure
Okay,
like her cameras
even better, we're 9 rows up from the field.
Oh, that's
My
great.
mistake. So you might see us. You might get a good view of us tomorrow or later today.
If they're kicking a field goal by that way, yeah, maybe we'll get seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. We've been in the end zone once before, I believe, with the Indianapolis Colts preseason game years ago when Scott Tolzien and Andrew Luck were their quarterbacks. So that'll be fun. But again, I think we're both in unison here saying we're going with the Bills.
yeah.
So now we move on to the battle for Ohio. Browns, Bengals, Cincinnati favored by 5.5.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Bengals over the Browns. I don't care if it's Deshaun Watson or not.
Joe Burrow has ice in his veins, and Deshaun Watson is another Russell Wilson. So Bengals here. Yeah, I don't even think we got to pick the next game. It's the battle for Texas, for Christ's sake. There. Let's move on, right? Because we're both going to take the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking the line is correct. I think that Dallas is going to demolish the Texans.
All right, Lions-Vikings. This is a first, by the way. A team that's below 500 is favored over a 10-2 team or something like that. But Detroit is favored by 2.5 over the Minnesota Vikings entering this game.
I don't know if I like that, honestly. I don't care if the Lions are still in it to get somewhere. I mean, they could still possibly win out and be a playoff team, but I just don't see it happening for the Lions. I'm gonna have to go with the Vikings on the road.
I see an upset here. And I'm not talking the line. I'm talking the records. I think the Lions pull this one out. Now, again, I don't think it's going to be their defense that saves them because, let's face it, their defense is atrocious. What I think gets them is that offense, and that offense is really starting to generate some heat right now for the Lions. That's why I got to go with Detroit here. I feel like Minnesota's trailed in 10 out of their 12 games that they won, or I'm sorry, 8 out of their 10 games or 10 out of their 12 games that they played, something along those lines. So I got to go with Detroit. I think they're going to keep the heat on offense there. Tennessee, Jacksonville, Tennessee favored by 3.5.
Yeah, division rivalry. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with the Titans over the Jags here, honestly.
Yeah, Titans here. But I do think it's gonna be close. Jacksonville's kind of that team that pops up, takes a win where you wouldn't expect them to. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I'm gonna go with Tennessee here. Eagles, Giants. Eagles favored by 7.5.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Yeah, that's who I'm going with.
On the road to victory. Fight, fight, fight. Eagles win. Okay. So, Ravens, Steelers. Keep in mind, no Lamar Jackson.
Exactly.
So, Pittsburgh is favored by 1.5.
Yeah, I would probably say it, but I wouldn't count out Tyler Huntley either, so I might still go with the Ravens here. I think Tyler Huntley will be able to help the Ravens get the win here.
Yep. Tyler Huntley is Lamar Jackson's twin, if I recall, because they have a very similar playing style.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta go with the Ravens. I think, they won't have to change up much. They just get kind of Walmart Lamar. But moving on to the 4:05 games, Chiefs, Broncos,
Mindful that it's only one 4:05 game.
Yeah. You know, what can we say here? I think we're both going to pick the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs are definitely gonna uh, take out the Broncos, and safe to say that their season is just over with.
Yeah. This one could be interesting. Keep in mind, fun fact, Brock Purdy is 22 years old. Tom Brady has entered his 23rd NFL season. And with that, it's the Bucks and the 49ers. 49ers with Brock Purdy are favored by 3.5.
I mean, there's all that hype around them right now. So I might have to go with the 49ers. I think if anything, that defense is what's going to help the Buccaneers, or help them beat the Buccaneers here at home.
Well, you know what they say, Jason. If it smells like shit and it looks like shit,
It is
chances
shit.
are it's shit. And that's what that line is. I'm going with the Bucks here, okay? It's Tom freaking Brady. He's heating up. It's December. He wants to be in the playoffs. It's going to happen, okay? We just have to accept it. So, Tom Brady brings the Bucks over 500. Here we go. Panthers, Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 4.
Yeah, Seahawks.
I'm going to go with Seattle. I think 4 is very generous, but again, the Panthers are another team much like the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just somehow find a way to be relevant in these games. So, we might see it again. Here we go. Sunday Night Football, Dolphins, Chargers, Miami favored by 3.
Mind you, this was the game that got flexed to Sunday Night Football. Was it originally
Yep.
Sunday Night
It
Football?
was supposed to be the Chiefs and the Broncos.
Sad at how that works. So, yeah, as much as I would love to see the Dolphins lose here on the road, they don't really have. I mean, both teams don't have really the best road and home records, as you can see there. But I think Miami's going to do enough to be able to get the win on the road. The Chargers, I mean, they get a offensive weapon back that might be huge for them, but I don't think it's going to be enough to be able to beat this Miami Dolphins team.
Nope. I'm going to go with the Dolphins. That'll be the final nail in the Chargers' playoff hopes. They're done, in my opinion. So, Dolphins win. Patriots Cardinals. This could be a very interesting Monday night game. New England favored by 1.5.
This Cardinals team is just not that great. I'm going to have to go with the Patriots, as much as that pains me to have to say that.
Yeah, New England. I feel this game slightly favors them. I just don't think the Cardinals have been on par this year, really. I just don't feel they've been up to par. They've been kind of off since the start. Maybe this Call of Duty game really just had Kyler Murray messed up from the start. But we move on to Thursday night. Oh man, this could be a fun game for Amazon Prime. Can I just say that? I forget who Amazon... So, Amazon Prime does have Richard Sherman, and he played for both of these teams.
We got 49ers and Seahawks.
49ers, Seahawks. What turned out to be a very big rivalry. And
That
it's
might
going
be
to be a game. San Fran, 1 point.
You know, they honestly might not be a bad game to watch on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
Another Thursday Night Football game that might actually be interesting to watch. Ultimately, I might have to give the edge to Seahawks, but wouldn't be shocked if the 49ers found a victory here.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I think, again, home, they always seem to do well at home, so I'm going to stick with them here. And then, of course, we begin now with Tinkle on this. So, John Wall returns to Washington on a Saturday night, hit a nice shot. Of course, I believe a timeout was called right after he made it. And he goes prancing around Washington, the arena there, saying, "It's still my house," you know. And of course, the crowd, well, unlike when Aaron Rodgers went around yelling, "I own you and I still own you," they kind of took to it. And I would say they got louder than they do for their actual team. So,
Which is sad.
this is a tinkle on this to the organization. Washington, you fucked up getting rid of John Wall, okay? You fucked up getting rid of the face of your franchise. If the Heat can keep Udonis Haslem all these years, I think you can keep John Wall. So, and granted, you know, they're two different caliber of stars, but still, you know, to the Washington Wizards, tinkle on this. Get a grip on yourselves. With that, Jason, what's coming up on No Final Bell on Wednesday? Did we lose him?
I'm here.
Yeah. What's coming up on No Final Bell on Wednesday?
We've had ROH Final Battle where we've crowned quite a bit of new champions. And a little bit of news. It is going to be a future TV deal that's going to be happening for ROH. They are going to be having a $9.99 weekly subscription, kind of like the WWE Network and Impact Plus and stuff like that. So ROH is back, and I think better than ever. I mean, personally, if you've watched Final Battle, anybody that's wrestling fans and follow No Final Bell, I think you'll be okay with the results of what happened. And ultimately, I haven't watched it as of this, recording for the show, but I plan on watching it so then we can be able to the film. And honestly, everything with with AEW too. We heard a nice back and forth promo battle between Ricky Starks and MJF, so definitely be ready to hear that. So of course, we don't have any out of turn 4 because it's still on hiatus. But
man, we got some news though. Honestly, sometimes when you think it's done, it's not. Just a lot of the lower series news, and some you didn't expect, but of course we don't have a show to talk about it. But a lot of it was shocking, a lot of it's not, and we'll talk about it, of course, in February. But still, I just gotta say that. I mean, John Hunter going to Xfinity. I know it's not on our scripts, but John Hunter Nemechek going to Xfinity Series. Chandler Smith going to Xfinity Series. Some manufacturer switches. Just piecing everything together right now. But tune in to No Final Bell on Wednesday at 5. And can I just ask, though, about Ring of Honor, because I don't know anything about wrestling, but I do know a lot about TV deals, and I know a lot about who owns what. And I believe the Sinclair Broadcast Group owns Ring of Honor. So this has got to be like Bally, because Bally Sports is owned by Sinclair, the ones who also own one of our local TV stations here in Rochester. So I'm shocked it's not like Bally Entertainment that they're going to call it and just make you pay for that, or Bally Plus and make you use that.
I mean, I can give you everything. It's going to be called Honor Club, so it's Honor Club, which is going to be Tony Khan announces the future of ROH TV will live on the newly launched Honor Club for $9.99 a month. They plan to have a lot of crossovers with New Japan Pro Wrestling, as well as having ROH wrestlers on NJPW. Then when and where of the weekly ROH TV show will later be announced.
Yeah. So I'm shocked because I thought Ring of Honor was owned by Sinclair last I heard, unless they got bought out.
I think it was Sinclair, but now it's Tony Khan. Tony Khan, who is the owner of AEW, is also the owner of Ring of Honor.
Ah, so that changed. I was about to say, because if it was still Sinclair, I bet it would have moved to Bally Plus, because Bally Sports, they probably sold it to start Bally Sports, if I had to guess.
So everybody, ROH will be back. It's going to be a weekly television web series, I think, for now. Of course, you have to pay a monthly subscription for it, which sucks.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the way of the future, unless you're Fox, because Fox is the only one that doesn't want to do streaming, minus their news networks. But, we steer away from that end of things.
So this will be the first time that ROH has done web shows for the weekly programming. They've done it in the past. It worked for what it was. I mean,
it's also not shocking because a lot of boxing matches lately go to Fight TV or whatever it is. Now, it's not really, HBO or Showtime or any of that anymore. Unless it's Jake Paul's fights, then they just get the television exposure. Blazin', I think, is the other one or something. Dazin', that's it. But it seems like that's just the way that fighting's going to begin with, is just streaming services in paywalls. But, I think that's a debate for another day. We're going to go enjoy our Sunday. We hope you do as well, and we'll be back here next Sunday here with plenty of talk about our Buffalo Bills experience. So we hope you'll tune in. We'll be sober, maybe. Until then, goodbye, everyone. Until then, goodbye, everyone.